Your favorite build? Nerf. The build everyone ignored? Maybe it's meta now. Albion just rewrote the rulebook for Dragonfire. And if you don't adapt, you're playing the old game. Dragonfire is bringing a huge wave of balance changes. PvE debuff caps, weapon reworks, armor tweaks, mount nerf, and one seasonal change that could reshape ZVZ entirely. Let's go through everything, weapon by weapon, and at the end, break down exactly how this hits solo players versus ZVZ players. The gap between fully debuffed and partially debuffed groups got too wide. So the devs are splitting the debuff caps for players and for PvE enemies. Max health decrease versus mobs changed from 50% to 25%. Max damage decreased versus mobs also decreased from 80 to 50%. Standard groups get an easier baseline. Elite groups will need smarter builds to hit the same number they used to. Let's talk about one of the most shiny debuffed happened in the entire patch note. Adrenaline boost has been dominating since its last buff. Time to add some counterplay. Adrenaline boost in all axes now expire if you don't land direct damage on an enemy every 3 seconds. No more free up time. You actually have to keep fighting to keep the buff. Flame Blast has turned into one of the best ganking tools in the game. That's changed. Flame Blast for all Quarterstaffs no longer gives movement speed to any allies. Self-cast mobility stays untouched, so Quarterstaff players can keep their escape thick and enjoy their PvEs and PvP solo in the open world, but squads that using it to a speed boost for catching gank groups, that's gone. Avalanche pass-through damage increased from 120 to 160. Knockback versus mobs decreased from 10 meter to 5 meter. Max airtime versus mobs increased from 0.8 second to 1.25 second. A straight up buff for solo PvE. Frost Lance for all Quarterstaffs damage decreased from 148 to 134. It's gaining AoE escalation like a bunch of other spells, but that long range poke damage is getting trimmed down. Freezing Wind hitbox now grow over 0.4 second. Total hitbox duration decreased from 2 second to 0.6 second. Root duration also decreased from 2.5 second to 2 second. This spell took over solo PvP after its last buff. The instant effect stays, but the hitbox and root get tuned down to feel fair for the person on the other end. Now let's talk maces. Blessed Aura for Outkeeper. Heal on auto attacks, buffed from 30 to 66. This opens up a whole new sustain playstyle, less about the shield instant burst heal, more about staying in melee and just auto attacking. Gravities from Morningstar cooldown decreased from 30 seconds to 20 seconds. Recast cooldown also decreased from 40 seconds to 30 seconds. Cooldown scaling per 100 HP minus 1 second to minus 0.5 second. Morningstar has been dead weight for a while now. Too many builds run blink and dashes that just ignore its root. A full revoke is coming eventually, but for now, developer says faster cooldowns are the band-aid. Shrink Chairs from Incubus Ace damage decreased debuffed versus mobs now from 40% to 25%. Same story as the global PvE cap. Single source debuff are getting recalibrated to match. Esprit Animal from Rampant Staff. Hitbox now start 3 meter behind the cast position. Cast range also increased from 12 to 15 meter. Easier to read, easier to aim, with extra range to make up for the hitbox shift. Spiritual Seed from Druidic Staff can now be recast a third time. Cooldown per recast would be like 20 second, 20 second, then 30 second. Druidic Staff, full of the group PvP meta, a third recast give it more flexibility at the cost of a longer cooldown tail. Fatal Blade from Black Monk Staff, damage decrease debuff per thick versus mobs from 10% to 8% total, change from 30% to 24%. Forceful Swing, an ability in all Quarterstaff, damage decrease debuff versus mobs, change from 50% to 20%, both getting recalibrated for the new global debuff caps in PvE. Infected Scraps, damage per thick increased from 7 to 8, max damage per thick also increased from 35 to 40. More reward for actually staying in Panther form and fighting. Sinister Sweeps, cooldown with charges increased from 0.8 to 1.5 second. This is the big one. That classic Providing Staff pattern, sit in plate, fish for CC, transform, dump every Panther spell, transform back before anyone can punish you. That playstyle just got a lot riskier, but you tell me that damage change worth it? Dragon Leap in all gloves, recast time window decreased from 2 seconds to 1.5, and cooldown increased from 0 to 0.5 second. Also, a tiny cooldown gets added specifically to stop accidental early dragon punch casts. Hall in Mercud, damage decrease debuff versus mobs goes from 30 to 20%. Infibule Arrow in Garden Armor also, damage decrease debuff versus mobs 60, already reduced to 25%. Both recalibrated for the new PvE debuff. Also here, Grizzly Bear get a shot. Damage decrease debuff from 70 to 40%. Grizzly Bear roaming inside enemy groups and debuffing everyone's engage just got a lot less oppressive. Its durability and usefulness for transport is stay exactly the same. Seasonal change, resilience penetration. For upcoming season, all resilience penetration is being set to 0. This is a full seasonal test. Respen was originally meant to compensate melee weapons for their lack of range, helping plate melee DPS actually function in large scale PvP. But with how much mobile every weapon is now and how much better players have gotten at positioning, the devs want to see what Zivisa looks like without it, and they will adjust based on what they see. Changes for ZVZ players is obvious. There is no respan anymore, so there's nothing special to talk. But for solo players, Frost Staff gets failure to fight because freezing wins shorter hitbox and root duration mean you actually have a window to dodge or punish it. So it means maybe your win rate versus Frost Staff players get better. Meanwhile, Avalanche become a real solo PvE2 with extra damage and airtime. Axes lose their free launch. Adrenaline boost now demands constant damage, so passive uptime in 1v1s is gone. More window to fight back and also kite. Fire Staff barely changes for you, since self-cast mobility is untouched, so solo Fire Staff players keep every bit of their escape and dive potential. In the other hand, Outkeeper get a real alternative build. Base Aurora's hitting buff makes sustain auto-attacking a legitimate small-scale playstyle instead of just shield poking. But in other hand, maybe Outkeeper players start using a build and making a build for solo PvP in solo contents. Providing Staff loses its safety net. The classic fish CC then transform then vanish pattern is directly nerfed. If you play Panther, you now have to commit to the risk. Put it all together, and this patch is pushing the game away from plate melee and heavy debuff stacking and toward mobility, positioning, and build diversity. If these changes make it to the live server mostly intact, except the first few weeks of Dragonfire to be pure chaos while everyone figure out what actually works now.